Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel, and I have some incredibly exciting news for you today. News that will allow you to cheer and have a smile on your face today as the continuing culture war is becoming a platform where we are now winning within the culture war. And we started off from the Daily Mail UK exclusive. Freedom Convoy truckers say Trudeau and North America's liberal media are falsely demonizing them as ultra-right-wing crazies, and after spending a week in their midst, the Mail's reporter can only conclude these peaceful, good-natured protesters are 100% correct about that, if nothing else. That's absolutely correct. If you haven't already, quick plug. The other day, this week, I did a video called Democrats, Detractors, Demonstrative Display of Desperation, where I go over all the minute details of what we have seen in the last 2 years with the actual left's protest and what they have done and the destruction they have caused, whereas here we have Convoy, blue-collar workers, and rational, cogent, and perhaps common sense type Canadians, and the Canadians for the most part do seem to be rather peaceful and easygoing individuals, so it makes it even easier to demonstrate that they aren't breaking windows, aren't damaging property, aren't looting stores, aren't using industrial lasers to point at the Mounties there, or mortars, professional grade fireworks, as we covered 2 years ago, that they set off inside the CNN lobby. They aren't throwing frozen water bottles. They aren't going after old ladies walking their dogs or veterans wearing their hats. No, these are individuals, blue-collar workers out there, and this is why the left is outraged. This is why even in the United States there's level of outrage, because these are blue-collar individual workers. These aren't just grassroots type vigilante activists out there rabble rousing and causing trouble. They're not even asking for censorship. They're not going after people and saying people should be shut down, as we see across many of the social media platforms here in the States. So here you have it right here, the Freedom Convoy. And then they have someone from the Mail who's there reporting on the ground. Trudeau, Daily Mail UK. Amazing how we're using Daily Mail UK because, of course, the coverage here in the States is a little bit skewed, of course, because they have to protect Joe Biden. They have to make sure that the left and the narrative is maintained. Daily Mail UK. Trudeau says a military response to Freedom Convoy is not in the cards right now, as lawyers for truckers demand GoFundMe release the $10 million in frozen funds raised for protest against vaccine mandates. Now, I want to make a little correction from the other day where it was $8 million. So it was $8 million Canadian dollars, $10 million US dollars. So the $10 million is the US dollars, 8 million, or I'm sorry, I got that backwards. 8 million US, 10 million Canadian. Okay, so there it is. 8 million US, 10 million Canadian. Okay, if that's of any importance to anyone else, I'm sure you guys probably figured that out. It was a misspeak, which can't happen here. So there was a discussion about bringing out the military, which made the left very excited that they were going to shut these people down, of course, because we know they're authoritarians. We know that this whole entire time where they were anti-establishment from the 60s and 70s, as we see with Neil Young, where they were anti-establishment, suddenly they have become part of the establishment because it is a movement and, as it's been described by Tim Pool, a cult. And I'll get into that in just a moment because I saw this morning a clip from Morning Joe, MSNBC, Joe Scarborough, and Minka Brzezinski. And Joe was suggesting that these blue-collar truckers, right? There's no mistaking they're blue-collar truckers specifically are part of a cult, which is absurd because their narrative, their directive, the truckers simply want their government to remove the vaccine mandate. They're not saying people shouldn't get vaccinated. They're not saying people shouldn't wear a mask. They aren't saying people should exercise their agency to decide if they want to get vaccinated or wear a mask, because you can. Just like with my philosophy, I'm not saying people shouldn't be vaccinated. I'm saying talk to your doctor. Talk to a medical professional who knows your medical history. The government, Joe Biden, they don't know your medical history. Not even Fauci, who is a virologist. He doesn't know your background. He doesn't know your allergy reactions, your your procedures that you've had that may cause problems with getting the vaccine. If you're immune compromised, for example, again, don't take medical advice from me. I'm saying talk to a medical professional. So Trudeau was going all the way to the extent of perhaps calling in the military to quell this event. See here, lawmakers from Trudeau's own party resigns and slams him for dividing people after the prime minister smeared anti-mandate freedom convoy as waivers. I can't mention that here on the YouTubes. Protesters blockade second border crossing after blocking busiest route into the U.S. at Detroit. So the continuation of what would be described as, in reality, a peaceful protest or civil disobedience, I guess, in a way it could be, because they're blocking traffic and roads. But we've seen that happen with Black Bloc. We've seen that happen with Black Lives Matter. And we've seen that happen with Antifa, where they intentionally and deliberately block roads. Thankfully, with the truckers, no one is being harmed or hurt. And unfortunately, in those incidents where there have been Black Lives Matters and others blocking roads, people have been killed or struck by other vehicles, which is very sad, because I don't want any harm to come to these individuals. I just simply want reality and society to acknowledge that these individuals are creating more problems than they are solving. And that's just it. As I mentioned with the quote from Winston Churchill's, every once in a while you have to see the results of what you're doing. You need to take a moment and look at the results. Are you accomplishing what you want to accomplish? And why is it that you're continuing to get more desperate and more desperate and more desperate if people aren't accepting of what you have to sell to them? So here from CBC, towing companies on city contracts refuse to move convoy vehicles. That's right. City police say finding willing tow truck operators is a Canada-wide challenge. So they're trying to get tow trucks to go out there and move some of these vehicles, but it's being hampered. But not only that, just the logistics of it too, of trying to go out there and actually move these giant big rigs. Now, fortunately, they're not towing trailers, but they're very big vehicles. They're very heavy, and they're very difficult to move. Plus, you got to have room to get the big, giant tow trucks out there to be able to do it. But just as a way to kind of stem it, I guess, just a little bit, we see here a Canadian judge has ruled that protesting truckers blocking the streets of Ottawa can't honk their horns for 10 days, which is kind of interesting. An Ontario judge on Monday banned protesting truckers from honking their horns incessantly or blowing air horns for 10 days after hundreds of demonstrators in large vehicles and trucks filled the streets of central Ottawa to challenge Canada's C-19 vaccine mandate. Now, it's important to note here that it is 100 trucks. That's a lot of trucks, hundreds of trucks. And they keep trying to say it's hundreds of people, but no, it's actually hundreds of trucks and then hundreds, if not thousands of people. So that's another thing the media tries to do to play it down. And but as we've mentioned, our good buddy Portland Andy, who we've been watching since the demonstrations of Antifa from 3 years ago, and of course all the protesting that's been gone after George Floyd, he has been covering this extensively, almost nightly and daily from Canada. And I've yet to see any of the particular tactics being used by the Canadians or the demonstrators in Canada, where they're using lasers and professional grade fireworks, setting fires, looting, damaging property, attacking people, flipping cars over. None of that is happening. You can watch any of it. Viva Frei also had coverage of it. And even Rebel Media out of Canada is also, or Viva Frei is also in Canada. He's an attorney there. So I've demonstrated this to you guys in previous videos where I showed you Portland Andy, Viva Frei, and even Rebel Media, where there isn't this outlandish, overt damage to property and society and fear-mongering that is created. And like I said, specifically, these individuals aren't trying to cancel anybody. They're not trying to remove people off the internet. They're not saying if you don't do this or the other, then this will happen. They're simply demonstrating the way demonstrations are typically done. And of course, here in the United States, they're equally as concerned because Joe Biden's approval, which was recently talked about in mainstream media, is absolutely abysmal, actually below that of former President Trump. And that's with President Trump having 60% of negativity brought up about him and his administration, as we've talked about here on the channel as well. And that's what I had for you guys today. Make sure you are tuned in for tomorrow's Friday vlog as we go over Joe Rogan's incident and the calls to have him removed from Spotify, of course. And if you are watching this on Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute, I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support there. It's been absolutely amazing. Thank you. Be sure to like and share this so you guys can get this information out to the people, out to the mainstream out there. And, of course, your likes, shares, and comments do tell the AI here on YouTube that conservative commentary or commentary that is bringing you common sense news is acceptable here on the platform. And of course, for all of you here on YouTube, thank you guys always for your support. That would be the channel icon appearing right there on the screen that you can click on to subscribe. And of course, below this video, all of my social media links, you guys can click on that as well. And then, of course, decide if you want to be notified when this content is out there. And I will see all you guys in the Friday vlog.